Hello and welcome to the latest Grindhouse Gutter here on the All American Spook Show YouTube channel. I'm Josh. I'm joined here with Donnie
Nope.
and the Professor Smoak.
What's up?
And the general premise of Grindhouse Gutter here is we let we let the professor choose something that would be considered like a B movie classic or old drive-in grindhouse type classic flick. So this week, what are you bringing to us, Smoak?
Oh, well, I've already given it away. The shirt gives it away. It's Shogun Assassin from 1980.
How perfect that you got the shirt to go along with the with the
I
title.
actually have two Shogun Assassin shirts.
Oh wow!
It is one of those that I saw on, I guess, video back in the mid 80s or so. Not knowing anything really about it, other than I love martial arts movies already, but this one, as we'll get into, is a little bit different. I might say it's. But had either of y'all seen this movie beforehand?
No, I had not. Now I had heard of the what is it, the Lone Wolf and Cub series, right? Like,
Yeah.
wasn't it? It was a series of films and then a television show, or both, right? Something like that.
I guess we can go start. That's a great place to start. Might as well start at the beginning, as far as it being technically it was a manga. Well, first of all, let's start with the pronunciation of this. Is it manga or manga? Because I've always, as I was younger, I always pronounced it manga, but I guess it's manga.
I've always said manga, but I'm not.
Yeah, me too.
I'm not as well versed in that stuff, so I'm probably wrong.
I'm not either. I didn't have any mangas. I just knew of it, and mainly from Japanese anime films. But this was a manga series from 1970. The first volume of it came out, and I think there was like 28 volumes they put out between 1970 and 1976, and it was called Lone Wolf and Cub. Lone Wolf being the Shogun's executioner, main character, and his son. He takes him around in this baby carriage, baby cart, wooden. It's from the Edo period, so it's a period piece set back in the Edo era of Japan. So he's Lone Wolf and Cub is his son. And another name for it was the Baby Cart series, because he carries his son around in a baby cart or a baby carriage throughout the manga, throughout the movies as well. And then another name for the movies as a series was called Sword of Vengeance. And this is because when the movies first came out, I believe it was 1972, was Lone Wolf. The Americanized version was Lone Wolf and Cub, Sword of Vengeance. That was the first one. And then also in 1972, the second movie was Lone Wolf and Cub, Baby Cart at the River Styx. So those both came out in 72. And Shogun Assassin is basically those first two movies, but really it's only about 12 minutes of Sword of Vengeance, and the rest of it is Baby Cart at the River Styx. So they kind of melded those together when they put out Shogun Assassin. And it was Robert Houston that directed and wrote the American script for it. It's really just basically condensing things that happened in those first two movies into narration mainly by Daigoro, which is his son, and then also the father, Lone Wolf's. And he doesn't, as far as I know, I don't know. I've never read the manga, so I don't know if he has any other name besides Lone Wolf. But that's what he's called, and that's what he's titled at in this movie in the credits. Now, I could also, it's dubbed. The Shogun Assassin one is dubbed. And I've only ever seen I think I've seen Sword of Vengeance and one of the other later ones, White Heaven and Hell, maybe. Because that's another thing. There's 6 of these Lone Wolf and Cub movies. And they eventually released Shogun Assassin 2, Shogun Assassin 3, 4, and 5. But those were really just American releases and dubs of those other Lone Wolf and Cub movies without the craziness necessarily of the first Shogun Assassin movie, which is needs to be seen to be believed, I guess you could say. The case of it being two movies sort of melded together, I think it holds together well enough. I mean, bare bones plot is that you got the Shogun's executioner, which is Lone Wolf, and he basically goes against the Shogun. The Shogun sends ninja assassins, and they end up killing his wife. And from that point, he seeks revenge on the Shogun and anyone of the Shogun's family. Is fair game. So the Shogun sends out more ninjas. So that's really the whole premise of this movie, is him protecting his son against ninja assassins sent by the Shogun.
It definitely doesn't shy away from gore, and
yeah.
Although it's old school type of gore, it's not like today's standard gore. It's more like they're gonna chop somebody's head off or an arm or something, and then blood's gonna kind of comically spurt out. Just
Yeah, that's part of that manga and part of that Japanese look. I mean, they still do it today, but the blood's a little bit, maybe a little bit more realistic. But they'll still do, you get a throat slash from a samurai sword, and it just whoosh, and it sprays a geyser of blood out. Is just a very Japanese thing that I think is something that a holdover that came from the actual mangas would have these huge, blood sprays whenever somebody got killed, and so they carry that over into the movies as well.
This being the first time that I've seen this, man, I really enjoyed it. Not just for the gore elements, although that stuff kind of pulls you, keeps your attention.
Yeah.
Like, whoa, holy shit, I didn't quite expect that, and then you keep it really keeps you invested. But like the story wise and everything, I mean, I think considering that it is a couple of movies kind of spliced together and somewhat Americanized, right, with the dubbing and everything like that. I mean, I think considering all those things, it makes for one entertaining film. I like the scene too where they have like the group of female ninjas, like the leader, where she's wearing like, I guess it's kind of, I don't know exactly what she's wearing. It's like a kimono samurai kind of thing, and then like he lays to waste all of the other lady ninjas, and then she's basically the only one standing there. She jumps out of it, literally jumps out of her clothes and runs away and like walks away really fast backwards.
Across the entire landscape that the camera is showing, like just running backwards so fast.
She hightails it the hell away from him, but it was just hilarious to wait because it's clearly like that reverse camera thing where like they just kind of did it in forward and then reversed it, kind of thing.
It kind of reminds me of you remember at Monty Python where it's got the guy out in the landscape. It's Monty Python. He's running towards the camera.
Yeah.
Except the reverse of that.
And that's the thing. They're not trying to. It's not a comedy moment. They're not trying to be funny. It just comes off funny, I mean, we could go on and on, but so I guess we'll get down to the nitty gritty. You've got your Grindhouse gutter rating, and then since this is a martial arts / kung fu film, you'll give out shuriken. So we'll let you do your Grindhouse gutter rating first. That's a 0 through 10. Where do you let it land on this one?
Oh, this is by far. This is a 10. This is easily a 10. All the elements that are in here, from it being dubbed, like Grindhouse movies when it comes to martial arts and kung fu films, part of the charm is that you could watch this in its original language. And by the way, I do want to go back and watch all 6 of the Lone Wolf and Cub movies, because Criterion did release them as they were meant to be seen originally in those 6 volumes. And it is a bit more serious. It's not dubbed. I mean, it's in Japanese with English subtitles, proper music and all that stuff. But what they did for Shogun Assassin, they just made it suitable for the Grindhouse at that time, and then also for the video market when that came to be. So the violence, the dubbing itself, which is, when it comes to Grindhouse movies, the more somewhat ridiculous or whatever sounding the dubbing is when it comes to these movies, the better, really. And anybody who's seen a kung fu movie will know that's part of the charm of it, is that dubbing. And some people don't like it, but I mean, if you don't like it, then you're pretty much not gonna like any kung fu movies, probably, at least not their Americanized and Grindhouse forms. On this we don't do a gore score, but if I was given a gore score for this movie, it'd be up there as well. That's part of that Grindhouse quotient that gets factored in, by the way, for people who don't really know what's the Grindhouse rating. It's not how well we like the movie or whatever. It's just what quotient is in there of things that make it Grindhouse, whether that's ultra violence. When it comes to martial arts movies, like I said, it's got good choreography, good cinematography. The dubbing is either, if it's meant to be what it is, which is a kung fu movie or this type of movie, it's humorous but entertaining and all that. So it has all of those things in it. So 10 for the Grindhouse score.
All right. And so what's going to be your shuriken rating for this one?
And the shuriken is also going to reflect my love of this movie. It's one of those that I've seen, I don't know how many times. I mean, I haven't counted, but I've seen it probably more than 2 hands worth. I have to count how many times I've seen this thing over the course of, since the mid 80s or so. And I loved it the first time, and I loved it this last time I watched it. So nothing's going to change that way for me. So it's 4.5 shurikens I'm going to have to go with.
This being the 7th Grindhouse, this is, we don't have many under our belt, but this being the second martial arts movie, the first one being Five Fingers of Death, with the 4.5 rating for Shogun Assassin. That actually tops your previous rating for Five Fingers of Death. you gave that 4 shurikens. The only other movie that you've given a Grindhouse score of 10 was Cannibal Holocaust.
Oh yeah, yeah, that's fitting
Very
too.
first one.
All for different, well, for different reasons. Well, for some similar reasons as far as the violence, but that one's even more over the top. So yeah, I guess. Yep. So as the more of these come on, as the further in we get with the Grindhouse series,
Yeah.
more that Grindhouse rating will make sense, and people can maybe use that if you haven't seen a lot of Grindhouse movies to judge. If you see that Grindhouse rating being that high, whether you're going to like it or not, because like I said, it's a lot of factors.
I guess that'll put a pin in Shogun Assassin for now. And like I said, I hope it's something we can get back to at some point on the podcast. But as far as the next edition of Grindhouse Gutter, the 8th edition coming up next month, what selection are you bringing to us, Professor?
Well, let's see. I think for the next edition of Grindhouse, I'm going to get back to to an action one. I'm not sure how many action ones I've done now. I know we did 1990, the Bronx Warriors.
Yeah, that's been the only action. That's
the only action.
One.
Okay.
Yep.
I couldn't remember exactly, so it's good. So I'm kind of trying to mix these up, so it's not like all one, lopsided with just horror or just martial arts or whatever. So yeah, I think I'm going to return to the action genre for this next one, and this is Strike Commando. I don't know if that's focusing good on there or not.
Oh, it's well in focus, all right.
Oh yeah, Strike Commando.
We can see it.
Oh yeah.
This is now. I don't know if you can see the name here. The director's name, Vincent Dawn. Now that's not a real name. It sounds like a cool name and all that, but it's really a pseudonym. They're trying to trick you. They were trying to trick people, renting this movie, thinking it's an American film or something, but it's an Italian movie by Bruno Mattei. So he's the director of Hell of the Living Dead, aka Night of the Zombies, and also Rats: Night of Terror, which we haven't got to those yet, but at some point we will. And he's an interesting director, you might say. Is he good? Nah, but it's going to be somewhat entertaining, I think. I mean, just look at this cover. I mean, you can't get more 80s than this Rambo knockoff, missing in action knockoff type deal.
Kicking off 2023 with Shogun Assassin, and now this next selection here you got. You're really pulling out all the stops here for 2023. So, yeah.
I did check out Strike Commando. It is on Tubi.
Okay,
if you want to check it out.
Now those things do change month to month. So
yeah, currently it's on Tubi.
Yeah, so, currently, yeah. So who knows where it might be by the time you get around to trying to dig around. But
it is also on YouTube. I did check that too. It's on YouTube.
I don't doubt that at all. Really, if you think about not to go on a rant, but Tubi is just kind of basically a repository for a lot of a slightly nicer copy for something you can probably find on YouTube. But either way. We encourage you to stick here on YouTube, though, and go and stay here on our channel and watch the latest Spook Show Rewinds, obviously Grindhouse Gutter, and Hammer Horror in order. Those are our big series here. And, of course, we upload all of our All-American Spook Show podcast episodes here as well, full episodes. So lots for you to stay right here on this channel to watch. Go dig around for a copy of Strike Commando there. I don't know whether we're going to regret that one or not. We'll find out next time. So.
It depends on your affinity for Rambo ripoffs are.
Yeah, I guess we'll find out.
That's right.
But for Will, who couldn't be with us, if you listen to the podcast, you'll usually hear his voice. For Donny, Professor Smoak, I'm Josh. We are from the All American Spook Show podcast, and thanks for watching.